I still don't know what to do for the midpoint. Yikes. Hello everyone, and welcome back to my channel. Just another struggling writer, the Beleaguered Authors one-stop shop for commiseration and hopefully inspiration. My name is Carrie Scher, and I am just another struggling writer. Well, today is the start of another writing vlog. As returning viewers know by now, I am currently in the middle of my second draft of my current work in progress, Seekers of Empyrean. Seekers of Empyrean is my Monster of the Week inspired urban fantasy about a young woman with a rare magical ability who is recruited by a secret government agency to hunt down and stop a growing threat to the magical community. And returning viewers will also know that it has been a bit of a struggle of late. Not just over the last couple of months, but even in the last couple of weeks as I have endeavored to return to form and be consistent with writing and be productive with writing. Not only have I faced mental health issues and real personal issues, but also I just spent this last weekend sick and really not able to do as much writing as I had hoped. But also I have been dealing with a big conundrum in my plot. I have a big B plot, so big that it was once the A plot. And then I couldn't make it work and refigured it, and it is now a big B plot. The more I've thought about it, it's more like a C plot, that it's like a really it runs throughout a big chunk of the series as a whole, not just this book. And while it featured prominently in the first draft and even featured as like the catalyst for the midpoint, what happened was I realized that the first half of Act 2 of my first draft was really fucking boring. So I needed to just change the progression of the plot and just make it just more entertaining and really like steadily increase the stakes, as you know you're supposed to do. And while I did account for this B plot while I was outlining draft 2, when I was actually drafting draft 2, I realized that it was still really bogged down. There was still a lot of just fluff in there that didn't need to be included. And I cut a lot of scenes to just get to the action faster. I mean, which is not to say that it's all action. It's just that I don't want to follow up a couple of chapters about training how to use magic with here's the bureaucracy of the government agency where Arceli, my main character, attends a meeting with her team and meets everybody. And then slowly she puts together certain clues that helps her go, I wonder if this is related to this thing in the B plot. You know, it's just not interesting. I mean, the B plot stuff is interesting, but the vehicle it was being delivered was not interesting at all. So I cut all those scenes and I was really excited about it. And then I remembered, oh shit, how am I going to introduce this B plot now? And I have been stuck on that for 2.5 weeks. I have not been able to figure out how I'm supposed to do this. And I turned to the Storytellers Society Discord last night in hopes of just getting some ideas that maybe some fresh perspective, some fresh eyes will help me come up with the idea on my own. And what we kind of talked about in the Discord was that I need to move the big reveal for this B plot to the Dark Night of the Soul and have that be part of the Dark Night of the Soul. And I was like, okay, that was an option I had been considering. So it's not a huge revelation, nor is it a huge burden. That being said, if I do that, I do need to change the midpoint, because that was the big reveal was the catalyst for the midpoint originally. But I'm just still not totally satisfied with the sequence of events here. I just feel like I'm cutting and pasting and the picture doesn't really feel complete. And I think the reason that I'm having trouble with it is because it's all in the abstract. I'm all just talking about it and thinking about it. I haven't actually sat down with a notebook and kind of drawn out the sequence of events. And I think I kind of need to do that. I am very much tactile in that way. I outlined everything on paper before I imported it into my word processor. I'm very much writing things down does trigger another level of my creativity. And so this evening, I'm going to be foregoing the active writing of words in favor of sitting down with my notebook and just brainstorming and puzzling all this out and really attacking this with focus and intention. And if I'm lucky, I'll be able to figure it out tonight and have a plan. That is kind of my highest good. That is my ultimate goal for today, is to go to bed and know exactly how I'm going to proceed. Because you know what the problem is? The problem is I'm currently at the pinch point at like 40%. And I really need to know what I'm fucking doing for the midpoint. And there's, like I had said this morning at the tail end of the last vlog, that I was just going to write my way through this pinch point, and because nothing that happens at the midpoint changes what will happen at this pinch point, and that is still true. But I also, I just can't. I need to know. It's giving me such anxiety, and I feel like that'll really impact how I'm writing this pinch point. And also, low key, I kind of need to figure out like the exact choreography of the pinch point too. I've got the broad strokes, but I really need to figure out like the minute sequence of events. That's what I'm gonna do. I did have designs on writing 12,500 words this week, because if I do that, then I will be officially at the 60K mark, which is my midpoint of my projected word goal, which is a big deal. But also, when I started this draft, I had given myself like a series of checkpoints at which I will reward myself, and that is every 30,000 words. So if I get to 60,000 words, I get to buy myself a bundt cake. And that is a pretty good motivator. So I'm really looking forward to hitting 60K. But that being said, I have to like figure it out. I can't just like, I'm not the kind of writer where I can just write my way through it. Unfortunately, I'm just not. I know that I'm not. I can't even start writing a book until I'm absolutely certain of what the ending is going to be. So that's that. I am going to make dinner. I'm going to eat dinner. I'm going to hang out with my kids a little bit. And then I'm going to really sit down and like just focus and write down like all the possibilities and different choices that I have and the things that need to be revealed. And then we'll go from there. So welcome to the vlog, everybody, in which I am desperately trying to fix my book halfway through writing it. Hey y'all, just checking in before I go to bed. It is not much later, and I have some pretty good news. I figured out how to integrate this B-plot. It took some thinking and it took some out of the box, sort of methodology, but what I decided to do was actually integrate it much, much earlier. In fact, going back to Act 1 and dropping one of the big reveals like right away. This makes sense for a couple of reasons. It packs a punch for Arceli and her relationship with her grandmother. Her grandmother, she learns at the beginning of the story, has been keeping a lot of secrets from her. And so this is just another big secret that she's keeping. And so as Arceli is being recruited to this government agency, their relationship is on the rocks. And in this current iteration of their last kind of fight before she goes off to be recruited, it feels a little weak and not really supported by anything that I've written in the text. We know that her grandma is really mad that she's going to go work for the government, and that is kind of the crux of their rift in their relationship. But I feel like if in that last fight she also drops this other major reveal, that will make that rift more mutual on both sides, because now Arceli is going to be mad that the secret was kept from her all along, while her grandmother is mad that, she's going to go work for the government, which is something that she doesn't approve of. That works for me. And then it also means that Arceli is going into this new job and this whole new world with this big bombshell that was dropped on her. And so that will kind of make her, her integration of this world feel a little bit more of a daze. And then the other good thing about doing it this way is that it gives her just a little bit more agency in the actual recruitment itself, because now she can say to her new boss, yeah, I'll help you, but you got to help me with this other thing in exchange, as opposed to what it currently is. Well, you got me out of jail, so I guess I have to help you. So it just gives her a little bit more leverage, which I also like. The only thing about doing it this way is that I'm gonna have to go back in this draft and add all of these elements. And while I did consider just leaving it and then just assuming from this moment forward that all of that has happened, I just can't. I just know myself well enough where that if I don't actually add it to the draft, I don't write it down and make it permanent and make it real right now, as I move forward with the rest of the draft, I'm going to forget, or I'm not going to take it into account appropriately. And so the rest of the draft is still going to be just missing this huge element element. And again, I mentioned this earlier, like I'm not going to waste my time like that. I just don't see the point. Which brings me to the bad news is that this approach does not solve and in fact compounds the problem of the midpoint, because a lot of these like plot moments were like coalesced around the midpoint. So now I have to think of a new midpoint for real. However, because I'm going to be going back into the draft, into the first 40,000 words and changing some things and adding some stuff and kind of rearranging some details, that gives me time to think about the midpoint more. I do have some darlings that I am worried I'm not going to have time for. We'll see. But right now, I need to completely rethink like the 48% mark up until like the 60% mark. So I've got some plot stuff to rethink and consider and think about some darlings as well. I've also got to make up a new reason for my main character to engage in this other plot point that kind of is a catalyst for everything that happens at the end of Act 2. That was all B-plot related, and now that this is all shifting backwards, anyway. So I've got to do some rethinking. But I am no longer feeling like I'm stuck in this sort of limbo. I do have like an action plan in a way and something to work on while I think through the midpoint. So I'm not going to get any writing done today. I am really tired. In fact, I was so close, you guys, so close to sacking out in my chair and just giving up on the night without ever getting my notebook out. I'm really glad that I didn't. I'm really glad that I took, and I mean, it was only like an hour's worth of work. And just, like I said, writing down every single idea that I had. And what do you know? It helped. It helped a lot. And I think I should just accept that writing things down physically in a notebook with a pen needs to be part of my problem-solving process for all things. So that's the good news. Yeah, the greatest news of all is that I get to go to bed now. So I'm going to go do that, and we'll check in tomorrow. And I actually plan to get some writing done, some mid-draft revisions done, as probably ill-advised as that is in most cases. I think in this one, it's a great idea. So good night, and we'll talk in the morning or sometime tomorrow. I don't know that I'll talk to you in the morning. You don't need to see my mug every morning. Hello, good morning. It is now Wednesday morning. We're not going to talk about Tuesday. Tuesday was a black hole. Essentially, I got home and I was still feeling really sick. I had a very horrible sinus headache, the kind where like anytime I would like bend over even just a little bit, like the pressure in my head and my face felt like a water balloon that was about to explode. You know, it was just awful. And I was really frustrated that I am now going on 5 days of being sick, and I've had 2 coworkers call out, and I have not had the chance to call out, even though I have. It's not about that. It's just like because I had the whole weekend to convalesce, and just because I didn't get better doesn't make it anyone else's fault. Anyway, I am just so tired. I'm so tired. And then that wouldn't have been enough to like do me in, but then you may notice I'm in different glasses. The earpiece of my glasses came off, my regular ones, and so I can't wear them. And I was like, I'll just use my backup glasses. But the problem is with these, you can't really tell. But the lenses, I don't know what happened, but they are so scuffed that it literally feels like I'm looking through Vaseline, like a thin layer of Vaseline. The top parts are not scuffed, so if I do this, I can see, not sustainable. And so that right there was like, I put them on and it immediately was like, you know, like when they're really dirty and everything is just sort of fuzzy, it's like that all the time, no matter how much I clean them. And that just made me so frustrated again, just like with everything else, like in the feeling sick still, that I just gave up on the day. I truly just gave up. I had already started off on kind of the wrong foot. I was not able to concentrate hardly at all at work, so I wasn't able to get as much done. I also wasn't like using my time efficiently. Like normally I try to get, sorry, my coworker rolled up and I didn't want to be perceived filming in my car. Anyway, Tuesday was just a black hole, and I'm trying really hard to not cause or to not let Tuesday cause me to spiral. And so I'm being very, very, very intentional about re-engaging with all of the things that I didn't do yesterday, especially the things that I know generate the happy chemicals, primarily being productive and getting shit done. Yesterday, I did glance back at some of the previous 40,000 words to see where I'm going to need to really dig into doing these mid-draft revisions, and I added like 69 words because I changed one tiny plot hole that I had known that I was gonna have to fix, and I was like, I'll just do it in draft 3, but since I'm in it right now, and it really only took like 2 paragraphs to fix. But the thing is that I'm finding is that I'm having to remind myself as I'm reading through these chapters that this is not meant to be a full revision. This is literally just a mini in-draft revision to add this B-plot. Because like I'm going through it and I'm wanting to change all of the things I've already kind of like bookmarked in my head of like, okay, in draft 3, we're gonna change these things to make it more streamlined. And part of me yesterday when I was like kind of skimming through it is like, what if I just scrapped all of this and started draft 3 right now? I'm not going to do that. I'm not, because there's still so many things I haven't written yet, like the changes from draft 1 that I haven't gotten to yet, that I really want to put on paper. And I really just don't want to do that. I don't want to feel like the last 4 months have been wasted, first of all. I mean, obviously I haven't been wasted because I've learned so much, but like, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to add these plot points. I'm going to take notes on where things are going to change for draft 3, and I'm going to leave it at that. And then I'm going to get back to where I left off and keep moving forward. I can't do that to myself. It would not be a good idea. I have a history of abandoning projects midway through, and I just feel like abandoning one draft to start a new one would just be not a good idea for me. Again, today is Wednesday. I'm gonna go get my glasses fixed later once they open. I tried to go at 8 a.m. before I came into the office, but they did not open until 9, so now I have to wait, which is really irritating because I'm doing a lot of this. We're gonna put Tuesday behind us. We're gonna move forward. We're hopefully going to get into this mini revision with energy and creativity and spark and excitement. I can see. I put them on and it was like that song from Tangled. And at last I've seen the light. And it's like the fog has lifted, because my old lenses really was like a fog. And they told me they can replace the lenses. I have a 2-year warranty. So I'm gonna get those lenses replaced and I'll have 2 pairs of glasses and I'll be able to choose which ones I wanna wear. I kind of like that. Anyway, all right, that's it. Back to work. Is there anything more embarrassing than hitting reply all when you didn't mean to? It wasn't even an embarrassing email, but it was still embarrassing to send it to 50 people. Hey y'all, it is now Wednesday evening, and it's been kind of a crazy day. I'm not gonna lie to you guys. I do have another glasses update somehow. I got a call from my optometrist after the last time I spoke to you guys, and they were like, oh, just kidding. Your frames are broken. You need to order new frames. And so I did. And they're really cute, and I'm really excited about them, and I might start wearing them as soon as I get them. That's the update on that saga. Now, to the moment you've all been waiting for. Writing. I did writing today. Please clap. Thank you. So I kind of set out like in my head that my goal today would be to focus on one scene, and that was the scene of the big reveal. That the rest of this week I would focus on the ripple effects and going back through the subsequent chapters and making sure that this moment and that this reveal is referenced appropriately. But that today I would solely focus on writing the big reveal. And please clap again, because I did it. I did that. I finished. I did have to take out a big chunk of a previous scene because it no longer like worked for the moment that I was trying to accomplish. But I did end up rewriting the end of that scene and like almost doubled it in length. And honestly, like in writing it, I was kind of saying to myself, like, damn, I'm kind of annoyed that it took me this long to figure out that this is an appropriate moment for this reveal, because it was pretty good. It was pretty emotional. Like I said, this is a big secret that my main character's grandmother has been keeping from the main character, and it sort of slips out. It's not really intentionally revealed, or at least enough clues are slip out that Arceli is able to figure it out on her own. So there is an element of like, and I think in the draft, like I wrote how annoyed she is that it took her that long to figure out the world's simplest puzzle. So there is an element of Arceli like putting things together on her own and figuring things out, but also like still a gut punch for her because it like dramatically affects her relationship with her grandmother. It's like it's a huge betrayal of trust to find out that she's been keeping this secret for so long. So it went really, 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 really well. I netted just almost 600 words from taking out the original ending of the scene and putting in the new one. Not a ton of net words, but a net positive up here, because I really do think that I need this to move on, and that this will make the draft stronger. And whether or not I keep this exact configuration of the plot and of the big reveals, I think this is getting me closer to the final product than if I had just left it as it was and ignored it and tried to work my way around it in the last half of this second draft. So I think this exercise already is a big morale booster and also like a vibes booster, like overall just an improvement on the plot and the draft itself. That being said, the temptation to overcorrect is something that I'm fighting against. So as long as I continue to navigate that, I think I'll be okay. But with that said, I do anticipate it taking the rest of the week to finish cleaning up, like I said, the ripple effects, especially since I have a 5 to 7 page paper due on Sunday and I haven't even started it. So I am going to be splitting my focus. It is after 11 o'clock and I want to go to bed so badly, as I always do. I wanted to go to bed at 9:30 and committed to getting the rest of the scene done, because I did most of the scene earlier today. Like I did a lot of it like on my break at work, and then I did a chunk of it like while I was at my daughter's appointment. Normally I use that hour to read, but this time I took advantage of being able to access the draft from my phone. And so I did a little bit there too. So it was kind of piecemeal, but ultimately, like when I got home, I was like, the only thing I have to do is like finish up this scene, which I knew would only be a couple more paragraphs. And so I'm just repeating myself at this point, and that's how you know that I'm tired. So with that, we will reconvene tomorrow and continue on with this weird little mid-draft revision. Hey y'all, just really quickly, because I have to run and get some food while I still have time on my lunch, but I just wanted to stop and tell you guys that I just did a little sprint to work on the scene that immediately follows the big reveal that I just wrote last night or yesterday, and it went really well. I took out 151 words and I added something like 450, which makes sense because like I have more to deal with in this moment, and it's just going really, really well. And it is just sort of reminding me, and kind of in a way irritating me, that this is probably the right moment for this reveal, and probably has been all along, and for some reason I just didn't see it. Because like what I'm adding is depth, so much more depth to my main character as she emotionally navigates this, and then is also like, this moment is also coinciding with her, like, it's the moment that everything changes. It's just like she's going to the secret government agency, and she's like, her whole like worldview is about to change, but also she gets this big personal news right at that same moment. And so she's coping with both like this new information about the world and like her new job and like what all of this stuff, while also like the undercurrent of like also this other thing. So it's giving her a lot more depth. It's also able to convey a lot of backstory. I should probably just tell you what the big reveal is. The big reveal is that it's able to convey a lot of backstory in actually not that much space. The only downside of doing this little mini revision is that I am tempted to be doing a big revision, and that is still the case. Like, I'm looking at these sentences, and what I'm trying to do is just read through to see like, is there a moment in these paragraphs where I could reference the big reveal since it just happened, and it would still obviously be like on her mind. But what I'm ending up doing is like, oh, I don't like that word, or oh, I just used that word a couple paragraphs ago, I should change it. And it's just like, that's not what I'm here for. That's not what my energy should be focused on. But apart from that, it's going really, really well. I really do think that this is the right way to do this. And I'm really, really glad that I've come to this conclusion fairly early. Like if I had gotten to like 60% and realized that that was not going to work, I just like, it would just be so much more labor to fix it. Because here's the other thing is like, there are several reveals and several like big world shaking things that she's going to learn. And this is like the most basic of all of those. And I was thinking about it this morning. It's also the one that's the hardest to justify holding on to for that long. And so holding on to it until like the 60% mark, it just makes all of the reveals afterwards, first of all, feel rushed and like they don't have their own moment to breathe. But also it's just like, how did she not get this information? How, you know, it just doesn't make sense, which is why I was like really reticent to put it at the end. But there also, it just didn't make sense in the flow of the story to do it at the midpoint or in the lead up to the pinch point either, which I had originally outlined. It just doesn't, it's just the flow of the narrative is not really working. Or it's working, but it wouldn't really allow for that reveal. So by doing it earlier and by like marrying it to her whole worldview changing, I think it's working. I hope so anyway. And I'm reading over these sentences and I feel really strong. Like, I don't know, I'm only in a second draft, but I'm at that point now where I'm like, oh, this is no longer just a vomit draft. This is something that can be refined into what I hope will be a good book. I finished that. My first inclination was that I'm going to go through every single scene and weave in context, but I've decided I'm not going to do that. It would just be too time intensive. And again, it would just lend like my energy to be doing like line level edits. And I don't really feel like that's necessary. I think I need to hit the point in a couple of scenes and a couple of major scenes. And I've already got a couple in mind where she references this reveal about her mom. And I think that's going to be it. And then I will tackle the like actual weaving in more organically or more like consistently in draft 3. I just need to hit the major points so that I don't know, it just feels like I can move on in the actual current moment that I left off on, which was the pinch point. That's what I'm gonna do. I think I have like at least one major scene, preferably like 2 more of those scenes where I need to like change them significantly to add in this context. Other than that, I think I will be able to move on. So I'm hoping, I don't know that I'll get those both done today, but we'll see. That's kind of my goal. The other thing is that I was just dwelling on the time pressure. I am now almost to a point where I need to be writing 2,000 words a day. I am, as of this moment, I have 39 days to finish this draft, and I am not quite to 50,000 words yet. While I think it would have been a nice little package for me to spend this week working on these revisions, I do fear I need to be getting a move on. We'll just see what I'm able to accomplish today, and if I'm able to rewrite those other 2 scenes or like at least rewrite parts of them to add in this plot point, I'll be good to go. And then only other problem that I have is I still don't know what to do for the midpoint. Yikes. And I was thinking about it the other day, and there's another darling related to this reveal that is going to be changed because I'm moving the reveal away from it. And so now I'm like, oh no, how am I gonna do that? Because the problem with that is it's kind of the catalyst that kicks off the back end of Act 2. Like the chain of events, I set up the chain of events so perfectly from the midpoint all the way up into the Dark Night of the Soul, really, so that everything leads perfectly one thing to another. And now that's all jacked up. So maybe I won't be writing after I finish this mini revision, but brainstorming. Anyway, I have got to eat. I've already used up most of my lunch period, so I am going to get some food really fast and get back to it. Hey y'all, good morning. Just a really quick update for you guys. I didn't get a ton of writing done last night. I did a little bit. I added a little bit more to this next major point that this plot line needs to really be talked about, but that was it. I didn't finish it. Today, I have the pleasure of taking my car to the shop. Actually, I already dropped it off, which is why you didn't get a car update. There's something going on with my front tire or wheel, probably like the structure itself, because like, anyway, it's making a noise, and like that tire is way balder than all of my other tires, even though I got all 4 tires at the same time. So something is definitely going on in that section of my car. Anyway, I'm just really excited about it. I'm really excited. I always love having unexpected expenses right before Christmas, but also my son's birthday is also at the beginning of December. So it's like, it's my favorite. I love it. Today, I'm gonna try and finish this scene and make minor edits to a few others. There's one for sure where she was already thinking about her mom, like in the existing iteration. And so I just need to go in and tweak it to make sure that it accommodates this new information, and then maybe one or two others, but that's it. I definitely think I can do this today. I also have to take my daughter to the store to get a birthday present for a birthday party she's going to this weekend. But apart from that, I think I can do it today, and then I'll be done. The only issue that leaves me with is I still have a midpoint, so I may end up returning to my notebook this evening to think about how I'm going to approach the midpoint and try and get all of my ducks in a row before the end of the weekend, so that way I can start next week with a fresh set of goals, of word count related goals, and be kind of back on my bullshit, plugging away and moving forward rather than going backward and fixing things. It's been a time. I'll tell you what, it's been a time. First, I was sick. Then, my glasses. Then, my car. I'm gonna get started with my day. We'll talk later. Hey, y'all. It is now Friday evening, and I'm not gonna lie to you guys. I have had a pretty terrible day, all things considered. It took $900 to fix my car. So that happened, and then I was talking to a guy at work close to the end of the day, and he complimented me on how fast I type, and I was like, well, I do creative writing on the side, so I type a lot every single day. And he looked at me and he was like, AI is replacing you. I was on a private message with one of my other coworkers, and I was like, you're gonna have to hold me back from this bitch, because he did not just say that to me. Anyway, so that was nice. So anyway, I am home now. I am changed into my comfy clothes. I am in my comfy recliner. I am in my comfy blanket. That being said, I do not really feel like adding new words at the moment. I was so stressed about my car all day that I really didn't get anything creative done. And I really don't feel like getting into the draft at the moment. So what I think I'm going to do tonight is just sit with my notebook and start thinking about ways to fix the midpoint, just basically doing the same thing I did on Monday with this plot point, and instead just focus on how I'm going to navigate through this pinch point and into the midpoint, and then see if there's any salvaging this darling of a scene, and how I'm going to, to make sure that the second half of Act 2 still flows okay. My original plan and my original outline was that this second half isn't going to change that much, except to just accommodate for the changes in the first act. And then the big fight scene will change a little. It'll change a lot, but it's still in the exact same spot and has the exact same outcome. Anyway, so my intention had been to save a lot of words in the second half of Act 2, but it is starting to feel like that is not going to be possible, which is fine. As long as the draft improves, I'm fine with whatever path it takes. But either way, I still have to brainstorm through how it's going to actually all come together. For the sake of my mental capacity, I'm just going to take it a little bit easy. Although arguably brainstorming through a plot hole like this is not necessarily easier than drafting, especially if you know what you're drafting. But anyway, I digress. I am going to turn on the basketball game, and I'm just going to have a nice, chill, child-free Friday. Hey y'all, it is now actually Saturday afternoon, and I have some great news and some unfortunate news. The great news is that while it may have taken me all last night and into this morning, I finally came up with how I wanted to approach the midpoint and adapt it to all of the changes that I have made with the beginning of Act 2. The great thing is that it stays mostly the same as what I had previously wanted it to be, just that the context has changed. So on the one hand, I won't be able to borrow much from the first draft, even though the scenes themselves are staying fairly similar. They're going to just need to be rewritten to account for the changes in Act 2. I'm also not super certain if this midpoint is punchy enough, but it does do everything a midpoint really needs to do. It brings together the B plot and the A plot, and it shifts the main character from reacting into being proactive. And it also means that I'm not going to have to change the shape of Act 2, Part 2. Again, a lot of the context will be different, but the shape of it will still be the same. So that's all great. So I'm just going to go over really quickly how I came to this decision, just in case it helps anyone with their process. So basically what I did was I was looking first at my pinch point that I was just about to start writing when I launched into these mid-draft revisions. And what I did was I really thought about what this pinch point was accomplishing. And essentially, it is like the first brush with the antagonist that the main character has. The antagonist appears, causes some chaos. The team that my main character is part of to help capture this antagonist is called in, but by the time they arrive, the antagonist has already escaped and left the area. But they still go into the scene to kind of like gather data and evidence and interview witnesses and stuff and just see what they can find out. So my thought was, because there is no like actual like action taking place, there's no real confrontation with the antagonist, it's just confronting the damage they have done. I figured this scene needs, instead of if it's not going to be action oriented, it needs to be information oriented. And therefore it needs to teach the main character something. It needs to show her something. It needs to reveal something. So I sat down with my notebook and I kind of wrote down a list of all of the reveals I had yet to put on the page that my character needs to know by the end of the book. And there were 3 main ones. So I focused on those 3. And what I realized was the first one wasn't enough of a reveal to really make this pinch point feel significant enough. And then the second one, I was worried would be a little bit too convenient, shall we say. And then the third one, I really, really, really wanted to save for closer to the ending. And then I thought about it some more and I realized that I could make the "is this too convenient" aspect of the second reveal, I could build that into the midpoint and kind of make it a like point of contention between Arceli and the people she's working with. Basically, Arceli is going to arrive at the scene of this chaos that the antagonist has caused. She is going to view the evidence and then come to a conclusion. She's going to present that conclusion to the people she works with, and they're going to say, Arceli, that's a little too convenient. Your evidence seems really weak. I don't know if this is real. This just seems like you want this to be true more than it actually is true. That's going to be, and that is going to flow into the midpoint where she wants more action to be taken on this conclusion she's drawn, which is a direct link back to the B plot. And they're going to kind of brush her aside. And that is going to therefore motivate her to solve that mystery and like prove it herself. And that is where she flips to acting instead of reacting. So anyway, I just wanted to kind of like break down how that process went. It was not a simple process. I did take a lot of notes in my notebook and then I had to lay down and really think about it. And then this morning I woke up and I still hadn't drawn a conclusion. So I laid in bed for like an extra 2 hours and thought about it some more. And then I came to that conclusion. So that's all great. I'm really excited about it. I feel really, really strongly that once this draft is all said and done, I feel really strongly that I'm not going to have to make huge structural changes in draft 3 like I was afraid of. There are going to be some structural changes just to winnow the word count down and to just streamline some things. But I feel like this, I finally like hit upon like this is the actual flow of events that is going to be final in the book, barring some minor changes, probably as I go throughout, the revisions stage. So I feel really good about that. Again, my only concern is that that midpoint is just a little bit not strong enough. Like I feel like it almost should be like an action sequence rather than her kind of arguing with her bosses and like her teammates about this, but we'll see. Again, it allows me to like preserve one of that major darling that I had talked about a couple of times. Definitely not necessary. Like if it came down to it, I could have cut it, but I really didn't want to. And in this way, I'm able to preserve that. I just need to recontextualize it. Anyway, like I said, I feel like this is a really strong sequence of events. Definitely the strongest it's ever been. And I'm really, really glad that I took the time to think about it rather than just try and bull rush my way through this moment, because I just felt like I would have wasted more time in that way because I would have had to have, anyway, that's the great news. The unfortunate news is that it is now 1:30 and I have not started my project, my big paper for the week that is due tomorrow at midnight. It is a 5 to 7 page paper. I have a title. and that's it. I have got, unfortunately, to do that before I do literally anything else, before I can act on any of these great creative like connections that I've made. I have got to make some headway on this paper. I'm so like, I cannot stress to you how little I want to engage with this paper right now. And that has been true all week. It's because it's not like I haven't been cognizant of it. Like I've been thinking about it every day and like, okay, today I need to at least write a page or address one of the criteria. And then it just never happened because I just can't make myself care about it. And I'm to the point now where I have to. This is worth like 100 points out of 1,000 for the entire class. So I like big chunk of my grade. And if I don't, anyway, you know how schools work. What I think I'm going to do is I'm going to do some Pomodoro sprints where I alternate between the paper and the draft. I also have to film a video later. I think that won't take more than 45 minutes. That won't be too bad, but if I run out of time, I'm gonna start to panic a little bit. So like I said, it's just about 1:30. It's actually after 1:30 now. I am going to go ahead and do some sprints and try and make some headway on both of these endeavors. Oh, and then I forgot to mention also, I decided that other reveal that was not strong enough, I decided I'm going to reveal it as part of these mid-draft revisions. So that way she already has that information by the time we arrive at the midpoint, and it'll just make it all better. So it just adds a little bit more labor to this mid-draft revision that I'm trying to do. I still think I think I can finish that by the end of the weekend. And the good thing is that because of that, I'm going to have a really, really, really good idea of what my final word count will be once I hit the midpoint. Because again, it's just so much of the second half is going to remain roughly the same. We'll see. But I'm thinking I might be under 60,000, which might be a good thing because, you know, I don't actually want the final draft to be at 120. I'm hoping to get it closer to 100. If you couldn't tell, I am just procrastinating at this point because I really don't want to talk about the principles of management right now. I want to write my book. I know you are watching this from the future, but like any good vibrations you can send me would really be appreciated. The way it's been over 2 hours and I have accomplished literally nothing. Literally nothing. So I'm turning off my TV. I'm putting my cross stitch out of reach. I'm putting my headset on and I'm locking it, or else I am in big trouble. I'm working on these additional revisions for this other reveal, and I just made what was probably the most obvious connection ever to make about this reveal and my main character's relationship with her grandmother, and I'm like so mad that it was so obvious and that I am halfway through draft 2 and I'm just now making it. But oh well, cleared is cleared. Well, y'all, I'm pretty sure I'm done with these mid-draft revisions. Please hold your applause. I know it only took me all week. But yeah, I just wrapped up the last little conversation, which is only 2 scenes before where I'd left off at. So I'm going to call myself done for now. There's still probably some places I could work it in, but I don't really think that I need to mentally to continue with the draft. I've done enough where I can be referential to these things in subsequent scenes and feel like I haven't completely lost my marbles. So I've written 1,700 words so far, which is pretty good. All things considered, as you saw, I crossed over the 50,000 word mark finally. So I'm very excited about that. But unfortunately, it is now time to redirect to my paper because I have not started it. I did like kind of organize my reference materials and kind of refresh myself on the criteria. So I did that much? Doesn't that count for something? So I'm gonna go eat some dinner. It's just exactly 7 o'clock. I'm gonna eat some dinner and I'm gonna put the hockey game on. I'm gonna go back out to the living room, put the hockey game on, and get started on that. But I would suspect that I'm probably done writing for the day. So yeah, I'm pretty pleased. I'm pretty excited. I'm already looking forward to getting into draft 3, where all of these changes will be integrated more seamlessly, because this is a little bit janky, but like I said, this is really just for my mental acceptance of the changes. So anyway, I'm really excited about it. I think it makes the draft much stronger and much more cohesive. We'll see if that holds up when I finally get to the midpoint and have to kind of bring this all together in a way that matters. I'm excited. I'm really excited. If I write more, I'll check in with you, but I would suspect the next time you'll see me is tomorrow. Hello, good morning. It is now Monday morning, and honestly, I should have just wrapped up the vlog on Saturday night after I finished the revisions I was doing, because no more writing was accomplished. That's not true. I wrote one sentence yesterday, and then I pretty quickly realized that the only reason I opened the draft was to procrastinate working on my paper. So then I closed it again. And I did get my paper done, I am happy to say. I turned it in at about 4:45, so I had plenty of time to spare, but it just was exactly what I did not want to do, which was sit around all day on Sunday and do homework. I have been trying to avoid that, and this was just a good reminder of why I should not procrastinate. But like last week, I was just having such a hard time thinking about it, and then I realized, I may have mentioned this, that I like completely forgot that I had a discussion post due on Thursday. I completely forgot about it, just blew right past it. So I was just like, I guess I just did not have the mental capacity to be thinking about homework. And so it all got done, including the late discussion post and the responses. So I am academically safe for another week. But yeah, no more writing was done. I did finish all of those in draft revisions that I wanted to do, and I am now prepared to tackle the last 60% of this book. What I am concerned about is the time and the amount of time. If I want to stay on track for Finish Your Book Fall and be done by December 21st, I'm coming up on the 21st of November, and I have not yet hit 60,000 words, so it's looking a lot that I'm going to need to be doing 2,000 words a day starting today. But I will leave that for next week's vlog. For now, thank you so much for watching. I so appreciate it. If you like my content and want to support the channel, please like and subscribe, or consider leaving a comment down below. If you made it all the way to the end of this video, let me know if you've ever decided to revise in the middle of the draft but not start a new draft. And if so, let me know how it went for you. In my next video, I feel like I say this every week, but I do have that author A to Z tag. We'll see if it gets done. I have just not prioritized putting that together. Maybe that'll be a 2026 video, but whatever I may have for you, I hope you look forward to it, and I will see you then. Bye.